That reminds me of, hey, welcome to Love Through It. Not that I have to say that, but I'm saying it. I'm here with Claire, producer, client, friend, comedian, podcast host, extraordinaire. What doesn't she do?
What don't I do? Name it. I'll do it for money. You know what I mean?
You know what's so fun about this is immediately as we start, I get upper lip sweat, like shiny upper lip sweat.
I love it
every time. And you know what used to happen when I go on camera to do anything? My nipples would get hard.
Oh my God.
How many HMU women have come over to me being like, can we put something in your bra? The director is complaining about your nipples.
Oh my God. Did you not just like start taking silicone, like little patch things?
I kind of think nipples are great. Like, get over it.
Yeah, but it is tricky in a commercial. You know what I mean?
It really is. And like, it was one of those things where like, it wouldn't have to be cold. They were just like, we're excited to be here.
We're so excited. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, basically. Same. So I have some weird body reactions to recording things.
I love that.
We're all learning.
I love that.
The countdown on Riverside, the thing that we're recording on right now, guys, reminds me, how acquainted with Wayne's World are you?
I mean, I've seen it multiple times, but it has been a minute since I've seen it.
I mean, it was one of those like formative movies for me where I can like quote the entire thing. Because my dad's from Chicago and like my cousins are, and I was very into SNL and Mike Myers. Mm-hmm. But when they would go to the countdown and they would like nod their heads and they're like 5, 4, 3. And they're like, you didn't say 2 or 1. Like, you don't say 2 or 1. Why don't you say 2 or 1?
You say 2 or 1.
You just don't. They'd be like mouthing. They're like, guys, you're nodding? You're mouthing? I don't know. No one cares.
I think we're really today's Wayne's World. You know what I mean? Like, that's who we are.
I guess I get to be Wayne because I have the dark hair, and it's my show. It's my show.
It's your show. It's actually your show.
So you get to be Garth.
I'll just be Garth, who I love Dana Carvey. You know,
who doesn't? Who doesn't? They both were so great. No, Wayne was one of Wayne, Mike Myers, and Will Ferrell were the two people who made me want to go into comedy.
Really?
Yeah. Like as a young, especially Mike Myers, because that was like way young.
Interesting.
Yeah. SNL is what did it for me.
Do you remember the first thing that you saw of his?
I remember he would did you ever watch him on SNL where he'd do that thing where he'd be in the tub and he'd be like a little kid and he'd be like, well, you know, my name is Simon. I like to do drawings. Because he had like drawings.
I forgot about that. I fully forgot about that. Bless you for bringing it back into my life.
There was another sketch where he would play, I guess I liked all the little kid ones because I was a kid still. You were a kid. Where he was like, probably what we would call maybe a ADHD or a hyperactive kid who was always like tied to a jungle gym. He had like a harness on.
Yes.
He was like covered in chocolate.
Yes.
And I was like, there's nothing better than this. I love this.
Fully remember that. That's so funny.
What about you? What made you want to go into comedy?
Well, I think originally, like growing up, it was drama for me.
Oh, really? Oh, no. I just wanted to be silly.
Well, you know, I think growing up, it was, to my understanding, to be considered a serious actor, you were a dramatic actor.
Yeah, well, that's why I moved to New York versus LA. I was going to go to a conservatory. Theater. And by the time I got to college and really was considering it, I was such a sad girl and like depressed and bulimic and all the things. Same. And I was like, I want to do independent film.
Drama. I know.
Life is hard.
I think that was so much, but I think growing up, I loved comedy, but it was like, well, no, I have to prove myself as an actor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
First. But I think the big switch for me, well, first of all, growing up, I mean, I loved SNL, but I didn't get to see it all the time.
Oh, okay.
Right? It was a little
I didn't have a lot of supervision as a child. So
yeah, well, that's true. That's true. That helps for you, for your TV viewing as a child. Yes. But I grew up obsessed with Carol Burnett.
Oh, right. We have talked about this.
Yes. Carol Burnett was like the show. Not that I am that old, but like reruns.
Well, we didn't have cable growing up. We had like 5 stations and my parents were like not that into letting me watch TV. Well, they didn't really care, but like they weren't going to go, you know what I mean? It was
if they did care, they didn't want a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched so much Seinfeld. I remember like playing Barbies and watching Seinfeld. Like that's how young I was. Like Seinfeld was like my whole
It's so funny because I feel like we're so similar. I mean, I know I'm older, but like
not much though. Not much. Like what, 5-6 years? That's it.
6 years. But I mean, if you think like that's so formative when you're younger, because I was in like college watching Seinfeld, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Seinfeld was on for a very long time.
It was on for a long time.
I definitely could have watched it also in college.
Your entire childhood and into adulthood. Yeah. No. But Carol Burnett was my favorite. But then here's the thing is like, so when I first came up to New York, I was like, I'm going to be an actor. I was doing only theater. I mean, anyone who did commercials was like a sellout, right? Right. You couldn't host. Being a host was the lowest form of the craft. The performing of the craft. Right. And so it was like you had to do theater. So and also even movie acting and TV, obviously. Like movies right below theater, then TV, then way down commercial, way down hosting. But I really made the commitment to switch to comedy. Like I needed to have comedy in my life. My mom got sick.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because my uncle has always been like, my uncle showed me Monty Python, the Holy Grail.
Oh, that was definitely
with Pink Panther. Like as a youth, I loved that stuff. I loved it because he loved it. It made my mom laugh. So I loved all of that. But then it was like, I stopped taking myself so seriously. When mom got sick, and B, just seeing the joy that a comedian brings, right? That laughter brings, and that escapism for someone who's literally dying to be able to laugh and like get out of their head and body. I was like, this is everything. Like, this is what I have to do. So then that's when I came back to New York, I was like full in on the improv and whatever. But I had been kind of trained from a young age on comedy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dad's and my aunt, who we've had very similar journeys. Oh, maybe I should have her on here. That would be very interesting. She was on the first ever Herald team, the first woman on a Herald team.
You have told me that, and I forgot.
So I have like improv in my bones, and then. She was so like, it's a heartbreaking story because she was doing tons of theater and like sort of like funny and talented and gorgeous. And she got MS and like she had to stop doing everything. She got sick. So it was really interesting when I was doing improv and then I got sick and I was like, whoa, this is like, what sort of weird subconscious stuff do I have around like being a performer and that whole lifestyle? But it's just not like if you're a delicate flower on the inside that, you know, being up late all night, you know, it's very adrenaline heavy, alcohol heavy, all of the things. Not great on the bod.
And your emotions are pretty close to the surface.
If
you're acting, I mean, comedy, you get there a little bit, but depending on what it is.
Speaking of emotions close to the surface.
I was like, what I was like, this could go so many ways.
I sent Claire a meme this week that I saw someone post, and it was a notepad that said, how have you been? And scratched out, and it said, tell me all the weird shit you have going on. And I was like, ooh, that's how we should start our episodes of the podcast.
The perfect way.
So we're going to start there. Tell me all the weird shit you have going on. And I'm just going to cold turkey this. Why were you crying at the doctor's office? So I woke up this morning and I have a picture. Claire sends me a picture of her crying in the doctor's office. And then with not much more than that.
That was it.
You're just crying at the doctor's office?
Here's what's bizarre. Now, first of all, I credit, I feel like when I'm about to talk about just emotion, and when any woman talks about, or anyone who menstruates talks about emotions, then immediately it's like PMS. But here's the thing. As a perimenopausal woman, I cannot track that.
Right.
So I don't know. And I have so I'm doing a lot of untangling. And I think I talked about this last time in our catch up.
Yes.
I'm doing a lot of untangling, and I have been for years, but really just diving in of my worth and my purpose and my value in life is equal to how attractive I am.
I mean, I don't know what woman does not have
exactly.
That
That's what we're told from a very young age.
Right. It's so intertwined.
It is. And
that's why I forget about turning 40, right? Girl. Like being in the entertainment industry for as long as I was, it was like, oh, you're fucking dead. You have no value intrinsically anymore.
What's interesting is that I think maybe because I never felt like I was a young person. I was always like annoyed that I was young. Like I knew. So like aging for me, but see, this is the different thing in terms of like the industry is that I've always known my sweet spot is the funny neighbor, the best friend, you know, like never the love interest, which requires youth.
Yes.
Right.
And I was definitely being pigeonholed into that girl.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, this is going to go away.
So that,
and I am the opposite. I'm forever like a young person. And people even now figure out how old I am. They're like, what? You don't even see it. Like I have young energy, I think.
No, you do.
I've been told.
For sure. I like to consider myself young energy, but in an old lady body. Even from a long time ago.
Yeah. No, that feels accurate. Because you don't feel like an old lady, but you do have like fun aunt energy.
Thank you. I'm a fun aunt. I'm a very fun aunt.
I feel like one of my best friends recently was telling me I had like cheerleader energy, but who like skips class to smoke cigarettes in the parking lot. For
sure. Which wasn't that you?
I mean, I was on the dance team.
Yeah, of course.
And I did sample. I didn't smoke ever really in high school, but I did smoke pot sometimes.
Well, then, hello.
Yeah. So, and not during school hours, because I definitely was a pleasure to have in class. One of those recovering.
Of course. People pleasers.
And
you were studying.
Yeah.
You're
but
very
I
concerned.
Definitely, although I was telling someone this, I had privileges because I had good grades. And so you could leave during lunch. And then often they would put like lunch and study hall together. Oh, mom, cover your ears. So then my boyfriend, who was a year older than I was, who was like my first love, we would like skip lunch and study hall to go have sex. So I was not smoking cigarettes, but I was having sex.
Even more. That's
not
more
in the parking lot, though.
Jesus Christ. Of course. That's like the coolest girl ever.
But yeah, it was like a nice, loving, healthy teenage relationship. So that was good.
That's shocking and weird.
I know. I was talking with someone recently. Well, I've been in this like on again, off again, now off permanently dating situation.
Never say permanently.
I mean,
crazy fool. You change it all the time.
I know, but I think this is it. But yeah.
Okay, cut to next week.
No, it's done. We're like trying to be friends. It's done.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, I actually feel like one areas I don't have trauma in is sex as a woman. And I feel very grateful for that.
That's impressive.
Everywhere else, sure. But I've like actually only had a lot of like healthy relationships and experiences.
How did you have like the talk? What was the perspective of sex growing up? Like in your household? Positive. So parents, it was never a taboo thing?
No. Yeah. I grew up like with hippies in like a naked household where like we had a sauna in our backyard and our neighbors would come over and go in it and there'd be naked people like rolling around in my backyard. And yeah, my parents were very like loving and affectionate and had a very healthy relationship and still do, which I think is one of the biggest gifts I've been given in this lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They have like, they have one of those relationships. People are like, I remember I had a friend during the pandemic when I was like living with them for a little while. One of my childhood friends, we had both moved back. She had come from New York and I was talking about how I left my marriage. We decided to go our separate ways. And one of the reasons was I saw my parents and I was like, I can't have a worse marriage than theirs. Like that seems like a bummer.
Wow.
And she was like, Lianna, don't be so silly. Like, no one can have that relationship. Like, they have such a special, unique relationship. And I was like, I will not take that on. I think I can. I think I very much can.
No, I think that you absolutely can. The fact that it exists is such a wonderful example of what you don't have to sell short of. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to finish a question. Like, when I was like 12 or 13, my mom gave me this book called, like, I don't know, it's this red, maroon covered, very thick book about like what to do about your body or learning about your body or something. She's like, read this.
Yeah.
Ask me any questions. We can talk about it. We can read it together, but like here.
Oh, I love that.
And it was so great. And everything about your period and growing boobs and hormones and sex and foreplay and birth control. Like it, and then it was one of the, I was young enough where like I would read it with my friends and be like, oh my God, look, there'd be like diagrams and like pen diagrams.
Wait, how old were you?
Maybe like in, I don't even know, like maybe like 5th or 6th grade, like young.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like so they were like the truth about your body or something like that, where it was like really like understanding your body for me. I was like way before I had my period, just like, this is what is going to happen to you. And this is what sex is and all of these things like middle, like maybe 6th grade, maybe 6th, 7th grade. Yeah. Probably not 5th, like 6th, 7th grade in there.
Okay.
When like boys were starting to be a thing. And then I remember after I lost my virginity, I was like, because my parents were really good about like, don't get pregnant and like, you know what I mean? Like go to college. And
they're realistic about like, you're going to have it. So just like, be smart.
And there was no religion weird stuff around it either. It's like, it's a beautiful thing, but like, you have to be responsible and you could get yourself in trouble. And like, you know, there was never so like, it was a really healthy.
So healthy.
But so I felt really comfortable. You know, I was sort of like, I guess my junior year of high school where I was like, okay, like I had been dating this guy. It was like the second time we'd been dating. We'd been dating for a couple of years. I was like very much in love. And I was like, okay, like I think I'm going to be sexually active. Wow, this is not where I saw this episode going.
I love this. Girl, I love this. And this also ties back into what weird things I've been up to, but go ahead.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true.
So dating this guy, was he the one you lost your virginity to?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in high school.
He was like, we dated like 2 different times in high school, and like he didn't pressure me, and we did it when I was ready. And I remember after that, I was like, okay, I want to be responsible. So I went to my mom. The story is hilarious, and I was like, Greg. I won't say his last name because why not?
Sure.
Greg and I are having sex, and I would like to go on birth control. And my mom was like quiet for a minute, and she was like, okay, so you think that you're mature enough to be having sex? And I was like, yes, I do. She's like, I do. Great. If you want to go on birth control, you have to tell your dad at dinner also.
What?
And I was like, what? But being like the indignant, ridiculous, like I've always, my poor parents, I just do what I want. I've done what I want my whole life. Like I'm very stubborn. That way. Yeah, I had a lot of freedom and independence. Yeah. And I was like, fine, you're not calling my bluff.
No.
So I did.
It's only going to make him uncomfortable.
Oh my God. And did it. My poor father was like, why am I involved in this? Why? And he just sat there. He was so uncomfortable. And the best part was Greg and his entire family were patients at my dad's dental office.
Stop it.
So he goes, he's so uncomfortable and is like, why am I getting involved in this? And he goes, what? Am I supposed to high five him next time he comes in for a cleaning? But like, that's how I got myself on birth control. We never really talked about it again. And they were like and they were also really open about like alcohol and like, if you ever need us to pick you up. And, you know, like I came from like, I definitely had like cool, hot parents who just like were hippies and pretty liberal and like, just realistic. Like inherently cool. And we're like, yeah, we get it. You're going to have a good time. You're a smart kid. You're not a mess. I never got in trouble. You know, I think I got like a speeding ticket in high school. Sure. I'm like, I got good grades. And they're like, yeah, you know, we're not going to make all this shit weird and say no.
And we've also taught you. Yeah. We've also shared information with you so that you can make smart decisions versus like making it a taboo foreign subject where you're learning misinformation from stupid, you know, classmates or older boys.
Right. So I really got, and I was also really lucky that my parents have such a great dynamic where my dad is really, really good and respectful to my mom. And she taught me at a young age, like, don't take shit from guys. Yeah. Like if he's going to treat you badly or, you know, I've said this, I'm sure, before, but it's my favorite thing to tell everyone. It's like, she said to me, I was so young, but if he doesn't like you, there's probably something wrong with him. And I always thought, I looked up to my mom, I was a little intimidated with her. But she was like, the first time I cried about a boy, she sat me down and it was like serious as cancer and was like, listen, if he doesn't like you, there's probably something wrong with him. And why would you ever want to spend time with someone who had something so wrong with them? And
you stop it right now. I'm obsessed with your mom.
Right? And she's the best. My mom I always laugh that, I mean, this is not PC anymore probably, but like she has the biggest dick energy out of anyone I've ever met. She's like so confident.
Energy.
She has big clit energy. Okay. She has big clit energy. Yeah. But she is just like so confident, has never had like touched anxiety. Like she knows what's what, goes after what she wants, and is just like owns the room. And that was like from a young age. That was what I was shown and taught. And it was right. Like, you know, I've definitely had my heart broken a couple of times, but like as soon as someone wasn't prioritizing me or, you know, treating me poorly, it was like, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Need I just make a note of our current situation?
Yes. Shut up! I swear, I am Claire, I just like a slow fade. I love a slow fade. I like a slow fade. Guys, she's talking about, I have been, and like actually the last two dating situations I've gotten myself in, I feel like have been, well, no, this one has actually been healthy in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Really,
it has.
Like a beautiful growth opportunity for me.
I just want to preface that like, it's been such a beautiful thing, but there have been like a lot of challenges for both of you because this is such a growing relationship.
Yes. So
maybe from the outside,
there's been a lot of tears.
There have been a lot of tears.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily because you're just like upset about a boy. So that's why we can laugh about it because it is so much more complicated and so much more mature.
But relationships are our biggest teachers. And can I tell you, the last two have kicked my butt because they showed me how much of a people pleaser I still was, how much I was not asking for my needs to be met, how I wasn't speaking up, how I was like keeping myself small in certain areas. And these have pushed me to my growth edge in having to like really get clear on what I want and really just be unapologetic about my needs. So this last situation has allowed me to practice that. It's felt like the gym or something. It's been like a lot of really intense and like I've always loved a gray area. I'm not a good, I've had like one clean breakup. Well, actually now two. But that was like a weird, slow, toxic fade for like 4 months, actually. Yeah. So no, I've had one clean break in my whole life, and that was not because it was an option. Like he would not talk to me afterwards. Yeah. But I love like a messy, slow fade gray area.
Well, you know, we don't want to give up on things that we once believed in. It's really hard unless they.
Well, it's almost like attachment to. Well, this is a very good friendship element to it, and like. I also am capable of being friends with my exes after a period of time. And I'm friends with most of them. Yeah. And so there's that too. So like, I mean, the last couple of weeks have been a little bit tumultuous. Yes.
They have. And that's, you know, but again, growth. It's about growth. Yes. For both of you.
Yeah, no. And we actually like today had because we had like, we've just been like, this didn't feel like the right thing. So I kept not trying to be into it. And then I was sort of like, fuck it, I'll give it a shot, which I'm glad I did because it has been really beautiful in a lot of ways. Absolutely. And then lately there's just been a little bit of like, not quite right, trying to negotiate how to get out of it. And he doesn't have quite as many tools as I do. So there's been some discomfort. Yes. And today we had like a very beautiful conversation about needs and boundaries and those things. Okay. And it was sad, but also like very much the right thing. And there was a point to me saying that, but I feel tender.
Yeah. And that's totally good. And that's the problem with being a comedian is that we see a moment. It's like a callback. You know what I mean? Like I just had to bring it back to make a funny point. You know, but it's not even a point.
You're not wrong. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I was like, I am so healthy. And you're like, ma'am?
Sorry, I just want to remind you of what's happening right now.
And this is also, it's funny because he's been the first person I've ever dated that's as sensitive as me, which has been really interesting. And then the comedy part of it's a little hard because I'm finding that like, we'll have these serious conversations and then I'll like make kind of a snide remark and he'll be like, and I was like, oh, right, sorry.
Right. No.
I'm not really this big of a dickhead. I just like to, this is getting uncomfortable and sad and I'm just going to make a joke.
Right, exactly. I just need to make a joke and so we can laugh for just a second and then we'll get back into it.
But then he doesn't and he just looks at me like, and although we do have really nice, oh my God, we laugh a lot. Ugh, there's a lot of good stuff. I'm bummed.
Okay. I'm still not accepting your current situation. I'm not accepting.
I don't think he's.
I mean, I wasn't in your conversation. I fully get that, but I also know patterns. You know what I mean?
I know, but like it's gotten to the point where it's like I can't get on this roller coaster again. Okay, it's like bad for my nervous system.
Yeah.
But like, am I stepping fully off of it yet? Not quite.
That's a problem. Here's the thing: it's one thing to be like, "Oh, I'm not going to be in this roller coaster," but yet I'll still ride the ride.
But
you know what I mean?
But I can I can walk back out of the room slowly emotionally. I'm good at that.
Okay.
And for me, I see that he's not capable of what I need. And there are some red flags where it's like, I've seen something I can't unsee, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
I can't like the dream or the hopefulness of like building something is gone. That's completely shattered. But is this someone I really like appreciate and enjoy having in my life? Absolutely. To what degree can I manage that? Unclear. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
But I'm willing to try. But yeah, I'm like, listen, because it was very sweet. He's, like, I would love to be in your life in whatever capacity you have me. I just can't meet all of your needs. And the thing is, well, it's funny. He's like, I'll be fully in it, but just there are certain things. I can't
say I'm fully in it.
I know. He's like, my behavior is not going to change. And I'm like, mine will. Yeah. I'm like, so just so you know, like, I'm going to have to negotiate what this looks like. And it's not going to feel the same for you. And it might be like a little crunchy sometimes. Right. So like, you're going to have to take that because like, this is the territory you're wandering into. Is this toxic? We'll see, guys. Stay tuned.
TBD. Listen.
This is a health and wellness podcast, and I am airing I am a human being who's doing the best she can.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is why I show up this way, and people can have differing opinions. I think that I have a very hard line about this stuff. I think you can't ever really comment on other people's relationships. I think you have to listen and hold space because no one knows what other people needs.
I'm sorry if you think I'm doing that.
No, I don't at all. Okay. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Okay. And I also think that you are drawn to a situation, whether it's a job or a place to live or a friendship or a romantic relationship, because it has something to teach you. And it doesn't matter. And yes, we're not talking about like abuse or addiction or any of those things, right?
Certainly not. Yeah.
But you're going to be in it until you learn the lesson. So either I fight the fact that I like this person in my life and I like have a harder time, or I ride the wave, get the full experience, get the full lesson. And maybe there's heartbreak in it, but I'm not afraid of feeling the lows because the highs are so much higher. I'm not afraid of opening my heart. I'm not afraid of taking risks because every time I do that, when I go like full into everything, I learn so much. I evolve so much more quickly. And I believe I'm here to test all the things, try all the things, push all the buttons. Absolutely. Like I want to do it all and try it all and have the most experiences and grow as much as possible. So I have to say like, fuck yes to everything. And I do that, especially in romantic relationships. And I think like, the thing I'm best at is relational work, which is why I do the work I do. And like, I don't mind, like humans are messy. Relationships, emotions are messy. I do not mind getting muddy because every time I get better tools, every time. And like every time my heart breaks, it gets bigger. it comes back together. I picture it just full, like all the cracks get filled in with like beautiful, sparkly gold light, and my capacity for love and empathy grows.
Yeah. What is and I can't remember the name of it, the Japanese art with the gold binding of broken.
Yes. That is like such the picture I have.
Yes, exactly. When you were saying that with like the gold light, I was like, I see it.
And it's not a flaw anymore. It makes it more beautiful. And that's how I feel about heartbreak, because every time, and man, I fall in love quite easily, and I'm no stranger to doing it because I love people. I'm fascinated by people. I love trying on what is life like with you? What are you like? What are you going to teach me? Right. And so though, yes, I like it messy, but you learn more. It's more fun.
I think that I am someone that avoids relationships.
Yeah. I'm like, we couldn't be doing it. You're like, this sounds fucking terrible. You're like, I hate this so much.
I know. Well, what's crazy is that in theory, I'm like, absolutely. You gotta get in. You gotta love. You gotta grow. And like you said before, like we grow more in relationships or whatever.
They're biggest teachers, I think.
Biggest teachers. Thank you. I was like, you said it much better than that. But yet, sometimes we still are very scared. But it's so funny because talking, like when I see or I hear a friend that's like, Jesus, like, what's the point, or why have I spent this much time? I can't believe I wasted a year, or like whatever the case may be. It's like, and honestly, none of my friends have said that, but I watched. Whatever. But it's so infuriating to me, again, as someone that's not in relationships ever, but it's so infuriating because I'm like, did you learn anything about yourself? It's a success. Like, that is an absolute success.
Yeah, when we were breaking up for like the 45th time last weekend,
absolutely.
I literally broken up. Like, I tried maybe 1 or 2 times. I think this is like the 5 or 6 times in like 3.5 months. So it wasn't right. We love it. We love it.
Yeah.
Over here. I was like feeling like there was a part of me that was wanting to be like, oh, I feel kind of stupid. Like in the beginning, I was the one resistant to this because I felt like you weren't ready and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I was wanting to be so mad about it. I just couldn't. I got like literally in the container of this, I really got clarity about what I do want because I was seeing some of what I didn't want. And I really realized that, and I mean, and this is why we're friends and I like love this dude so much, is that like a month and a half in, I woke up one day and he had stayed over and I got him. I'm going to have a vulnerability hangover after this.
Watch out, girl.
I know. And I was like feeling, he said something and I was like mad and I was like wanting to pick a fight. And then I realized, because I am quite self-aware at this point. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, this is not about you. I'm realizing that I want to have a baby. And I wasn't sure if I did anymore. Yeah. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not actually mad at you for this. Oh, I'm going to start crying. Yeah. And this guy was known me for like a month and a half. I like burst into tears and I was like, oh, I realized that I would like to have a baby still. Or like, not even like, right now, but like, I think I need that to be on the table if I'm going to seriously date someone. And I was like, as much as I thought I could be like fun and casual and like, I think that you need to know this about me.
Yeah.
And he sat there and just like, I mean, you're like, it's okay, grab your pants, run. It's fine.
That's fine. That's
like,
fine.
It's fine.
Just like, what's going on with me?
And he's so lovely. And just was like, it's fine. And like, really like gave me a hug and allowed me to like cry and process and was like, that's not scary to me. And that was like round 2 of maybe us breaking up because I was like, I know this is so not where you are. And this is so not what I would ever bring to a new relationship. But
I'm making this realization. And
and I'm about to turn 40. So all this stuff is like really real for me.
Yeah.
And it was really sweet. And like, we have such a nice friendship on top of everything else. And it was great because then he was like, I'm going to really think about this. And was like, I don't think I have the capacity. And I was like, I totally get it. And like,
I'm not asking you to.
Yeah. God, no. Because like, how would I know? I still don't know. Like if that's what I want in this situation. But it does make you feel like the craziest person alive when you're like dating someone new and you're like, hey, you want to
by the way,
fun about me?
Right.
Yeah. But
I think that's part of, I mean, that's a huge growth. And like, you needed to be in this situation where
it gave me clarity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I also feel like that's something like I always hated when I was somewhat getting like maybe in my late 20s, 30s, if I dated. Because again, this girl's avoidant. No,
hey,
I just was
over here.
I know.
Just like showing both sides.
I mainly was just queer and wasn't comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But anywho, I think I would get so annoyed with like this idea, and I think it's so much better now, just because there's so many people who don't necessarily, who are vocal about not wanting children and like I personally don't want my own biological children. If I have the means in the future to adopt, I would love to, but I've never had that drive to have my own children.
Yeah.
But it's like always, I mean, dating and the whole world has been seen through a patriarchal lens.
Yes.
But it's like, ooh, women, you don't want to date older because then they want a child and then they want to get married. And that's the worst thing in the world. It's right. Absolute bullshit. But I was so defiant, so annoyed by that. But then in reality, there comes a point where you do need to just be honest about that at a certain time. If that's something, and it's really just an honesty of what you want in your life.
Yeah.
The more we grow, right? Because it's like in your 20s, you don't fucking, I mean, you think you do, but you don't fucking know. But it's like, as we age, it's like, no, I'm pretty certain this is who I am and this is what I want. So here it is.
Yeah. And
decision.
I started to sort of let go of it because it was something I thought I always wanted. I was set up perfectly to do it, and I really didn't want to. Yeah. And then I've had a couple of really lovely relationships that they were very into the idea, and it really was interesting to me that, and for some reason, I know why. Like I spent so much time alone last year, like really for the first time in my entire adult life, because I'm a serial monogamist and I'm anxiously attached and all that fun stuff. But it was the first time in my life I really spent time being really free in my own energy and kind of falling in love with myself. And I feel like this is the first time in my life where I did all of the things. I checked all of the boxes. I tried all of the things that I want. I pursued the careers I wanted. I had the success to varying degrees that I wanted. And like, as someone who does want to push all the buttons and try all the things, I want to grow a human inside my body. That's weird and gross.
That's so weird.
That's so weird. I have to try it. You know what I just realized? I did not plug my microphone in.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, you sound fine.
Yeah, I think so.
You sound good.
I was like looking over there and I was like, oh.
Interesting. Let's start over. No, I'm just kidding.
No, oops. Should I plug it now or we're fine?
Yeah. Just leave it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little scattered today because of the 65th breakup.
The aforementioned. Yes. Just a little echoey, but beyond that, you're okay.
Oh, should I plug it in?
No, because let's keep it consistent for this.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'll cut that out.
Don't leave it in. Let him see behind the curtain.
See the sauce being made. Is that right?
See the sauce.
Sausage.
Yes.
I'm like, what's happening?
I don't think, what would we be making? We would not be making sausage.
I know. I'm like, I don't even want to pretend we're making sausage. No. Even though a good kielbasa. Are you kidding?
Oh my God. love a kielbasa.
Thank you.
And this could really go in a funny direction considering this is apparently the sex episode.
This is our listen, you cannot have me on and not talk about sex.
Well, and let's pivot because literally, and there was a good segue into this earlier and I totally fucking missed it, but like...
No, we were talking about the weirdness or something.
Yeah, the weirdness. But it is funny that like, here I am, I'm like forever jumping into relationships like an anxiously attached person with like, hi, let's do this.
Right.
And then you and I, and you especially.
To counter that.
Yeah, you're like, I really need to work on intimacy.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I really need to be doing. And then tell them what you were like, we got to get you jumping into dating again.
Thank
and in
you
your
so much.
body. Like, yes, intimacy is something you want to cultivate. What did you do last weekend?
So I went to a sex party. Which, that's, I don't think that's the perfect medicine for
intimacy.
A void of intimacy in your life. Well, here's the thing.
What's
first of all, and I think we've talked about this before, but like you had such a healthy relationship with sex, thankfully, because you were taught from a young age it wasn't something that was horrible and taboo and whatever. And it wasn't that I was taught that it was like a religious, like you'd go to hell or something like that. Didn't hover over me. It was more my mother. It was like, you don't talk about it. Like you do not. My mother had to whisper sex. Like that's what she spoke of. So, and it was very evident that like it's happening, but like we just don't speak. It's not ladylike to discuss. You know what I mean? It's not, we don't discuss this. And she clearly was embarrassed. She clearly had her own stuff wrapped up in it, right?
Yeah.
So I was hypersexualized from a young age because I didn't know anything. And
you're a model from when you were little. And that's what modeling is.
Exactly. But then also because I am a woman, right? And then also my mother was a model and an actor. So her teachings were very much like to be attractive to men who would hire you. You know what I mean? Like I can't blame her so much for some of her teaching. And she was never mean about it, but it was just,
That's so interesting, right? Because my mom was a model, not for as long, like for when she was younger. And she had she like was like, do not let people like you essentially like didn't want to talk about how I looked. It was like literally always like, you want people to appreciate you for who you are and how smart you are. And like, that was the thing that was driven into me all the time. It's like, no, you could, like show people who you are. That's what you want to lead with. Like your brain. I
think the core teaching for me and whether my takeaways, right? I can't say specifically, but I think the takeaways that I had as a youth were you get in the door from your looks. And then you wow them with your personality. But if you can't get in the door, then you can't wow them.
Yeah. Well, my mom's like, I'm going to bust open any door. So I'm not.
I know, right? No, my mother was a socialite girl. We don't bust doors.
And people from talk. The South. Was she Southern?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. My mom was Asian. It's like, we're direct.
It's a little different in that respect.
She still is.
Yeah. Well, turns out she still is. So anyhow, I became hypersexualized at a young age. I lost my virginity very early, and not because I necessarily wanted to.
How old were you? Do you mind
12.
saying? Oh, 12. Shit. That's hard. That's very young.
But it had nothing to do with like, because I was...
No judgment.
No.
For all of you out there. That just seems hard.
Well, I don't judge it either because it's like, I didn't fucking know. I just knew it was something that I needed to do in order to be accepted and to be...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know any better. I feel bad. Like, I want to give that Claire a hug and be like, you don't. Like, wait, but I didn't at the time,
Right.
And it wasn't... sex in my mind was not something that was to be enjoyed by me. It was to please others.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter that my body was involved.
Yeah. Really. Very different narratives.
Yeah. And I think, also struggling with queerness for a very long time, like I was with women at a young age, but it almost was like, I was in group settings, right? So it was always like for the view. Like the first time I ever kissed a girl, this boy paid us $1 each to kiss.
I mean, I definitely kissed a girl because our boyfriends wanted us.
Some boy wanted.
Yeah. But then it was so funny because he was like, I don't like seeing you kiss anyone. Actually, it was the same guy I lost my virginity to. We dated again in college.
What a nice, healthy thing.
He was a really lovely guy. I'm sure still is.
I'm sure still is. Just like your mother is still Asian.
I'm talking about everyone in past tense like they're dead.
I know.
Like they're not here in the moment, don't you?
I know. Well, and I'm talking about my mother in past tense because she is past.
Right.
So
I'm catching it. Yeah.
To match that. But all of this to say, sex is such an interesting thing.
And it's such a healthy part of like your relationship to yourself and your body and health. Yeah. I think it's like sexual health and like understanding
so important
what you need in that department is so incredible. It's one of the whole umbrella things under being healthy.
Well, and I think that with so fast forwarding a little bit, like I have been a very sexual person. Mm-hmm. I have done a lot. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot. I've shown up for a lot. I've participated in a lot. And in fact, I went back to school to be a sex therapist. Like I'm so fascinated by it because it was such a taboo thing. Maybe, and then you might have known that from a while ago. Did you
finish the?
No.
Right.
No, that was the thing. Is I went because I quit undergrad.
Okay.
To move up to New York to be an actor, a theater actor. And then I worked in the restaurant and I just like partied and did whatever. And like, but that was exactly. I like barely auditioned, you know? And then I left and went back to Tennessee because my mom was sick.
Right.
And so in that time I was like, well, I'll finish my degree just because I'm here. I'll like go at night and just like slowly finish. And so as I decided, well, no, I take that back. I had started temping at this and then ended up full-time working at this physical therapy clinic. But the main physical therapist there specialized in women's health. And so one of her top referrers was a sex therapist.
Interesting.
And so I really became, this whole world opened up to me where I was like, wow, like doing biofeedback, like doing a lot of like for those who have had sexual trauma and those who have had, you know, it's in
which is so many people. Like I am shocked.
Many people.
I feel so grateful and lucky.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in this very small percentile of women who do not have it.
Yeah.
I feel like most women I know have like I mean, yes, I've had a little weird gray area stuff happen, but like really very, very little and nothing I carry with me.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's disturbing. And again, because we are objects, right?
Yeah.
And so it really, that whole world, I was like, whoa. Like this world is fascinating to me because I clearly am struggling with my own relationship with sex.
Right.
And while I didn't have early assault or physical trauma beyond the fact that I just laid down for whoever because I thought I was supposed to, which is its own thing.
I mean, that was a narrative so many of us had
so many
of
us, right?
Well, and I remember I really like a lot of my friends would like when we were early in New York would like make out randomly with people. And it was like, I don't want to do that with people I don't know because I don't know how to have better, you know, like I'm too nice to be like, we're not doing more than this. So I just was like, unless I was like really like you and interested in dating you and felt comfortable. I think also because I think about this all the time. I'm like, why hasn't this happened to me? I'm so sensitive to people's energy, right? So like I have to be really comfortable for like to allow you into that space and like literally into my body.
Yeah.
That like I couldn't be like super casual, like randos to get myself in weird situations because already I'm just like too sensitive and I'm like, I'm uncomfortable because I don't know you.
Well, the problem that I've had is I completely just make the decision to disassociate and then I'm there. Ooh, like even that long ago, like even, you know, before the pandemic, like 4-something years ago, back when I was still doing the No Such Thing as Love podcast, like I tell the story and it's a very funny night, but it is kind of sad because I was out with Jesse my old co-host, and she really wanted to hook up with this guy, but it was taking a long time to to make anything happen. And so his friend started talking to me, and I like didn't want to talk to him. So I decided, like, he leaned in for a kiss, and I was like, sure. Like, so I made out with this guy because I just didn't want to talk to him. And then he wanted to hook up. I was like, okay. Like, I just didn't even fight it. Like, he came home and I had sex with him. Mm-hmm. Because it was just like, okay, I've had sex with so many people just because I didn't want to, like, argue.
Right. And that's why it's like, I don't want to let this guy kiss me because I don't want to be in that situation. Because
but I just am like, fuck it. Okay. I either run away. Run away, or I'm like, if I'm in a situation where I can't necessarily do that, or it's like not the worst, then I'm like, okay. I remember there was this guy years ago when I used to come back after I left New York and before I moved back, I would come up frequently. And at this one time I came up to visit friends, and I actually was staying in a hotel that time. And a friend, like, there was a huge group of us. We went to Soho House. Don't mean to brag.
Yeah. Just a shoulder.
Mr. Big, Chris Noth, bought me a drink. Don't worry about it.
Oh my God.
But anywho, one of my friends, part of the big group, he took a liking, and I was flirty with him to a degree, but I wasn't like that. I wasn't that excited. And then as we're leaving, he was like, here, I'll go back with you. I'll go back with you. And I was like, no. I said no like multiple times. And then it was like my friend and her boyfriend were leaving. I was leaving, and he was like, no, go. Like, he just was like attached to me, you know? And my friend was like, no, just let him go. Just, you know, like, let him go back with you. Let him go back with you. I was like, okay. So then we're in the cab, and he was like, no, let me just like come up with you. And I was like, no, like, you could just, he goes, well, I'm already in the car. I said, listen, I said, you could be in the car with me. I was like, but that's it. The whole time he's like, just let me come. Like, I won't do anything. I'm just going to walk you to your hotel.
Oh, my skin is crawling.
And then the fucking cab driver says, just let him go up.
Let him go up
to your hotel. And so then I was like, okay, fine. So then I had sex with this guy because he wouldn't no. And I wasn't firm enough, which is, you know, victim blaming in a way, but it's still, and like even the cab driver, my friend, everyone was like, just let him fuck you, essentially.
You're like, fine, peer pressure.
Yeah. And so then I like faked it so many times just to get him to fucking stop. But he thought he was magical.
Oh God. Oh God.
Because I was coming so many times, which I wasn't. And so then like he slept over because he lived in Queens and didn't want to go all the way home. I did not want him there. No. And then I was meeting other friends for brunch, and he was like, well, I'm just going to stay here because I don't want to go all the way home before I have to work later. And I finally was like, no, I don't want to leave you alone in my hotel room. Like, you have to go. That was the only time I actually spoke up and he listened.
Oh, how old were you?
Oh no, this was fucking mid to late 20s.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's so, I mean, I'm sure everyone to a degree has a story like that.
That's like, not the only one that I have like that. But that was just where it was like the cab driver was involved. Right. My friend was involved. Like everyone was like, yo, you should just have sex with him. Just have sex with him. Just have sex with him. Come on,
he's nice. He's insistent. He bought you a drink or whatever it was. Like, no.
So gross.
I'm sad inside.
It's so gross. It's like I've told many funny stories about these things, you know, because that's a story, that's a crowd favorite that I've told, but the way I tell it is a little bit different because it's like, you know.
Yeah.
But anywho, all of this to say that I've been to sex parties before.
This was not your first.
This was not my first, but this was my first all women.
Oh.
So that is something like being comfortable with like I'm so much more open, and I like on social, I've come out to a family and whatever. Mm-hmm, like I've been out, but I haven't really been that physical since.
Yeah, right. Exploring it.
And I say that I'm queer because it's like right now I'm not really excited about hooking up with men because I've done enough of it. But I'm also not like, let me tell you, if I see a hot guy, I can't help it. Like I'm not saying never, but right now I'm just like, I want to focus on women and figuring out who I am in this sexual space that doesn't involve the male gaze.
Yes.
Or the male, desires.
Experience. Yeah.
So I went back on Field, which
is, tell them what it is.
It's essentially a sex app. It kind of primarily started for kink and for couples and things like that, but it's not at all just that. Like there's a lot of people that are like, I just want to like make out and meet people, and if more happens, that's great. Like it doesn't. I really enjoy it because I find that I have some of the most honest conversations with people who are on it.
Yeah, that's good.
Communication is, people who are sex forward usually are very, like, they really know the importance of communication.
Yeah.
And so there's a discussion of like, okay, let's meet up. Let's see, like I always say, let's meet up, let's get a drink or coffee or whatever the situation is, just for like a safety and a chemistry check. So it's like, we're just like, we're being honest about it. And then it's like, okay, do we want to go back? Do we want to go do, it's like there's checking in, there's more communication along the way. So I was like, okay, so I restarted my profile, but I'm just looking for women. Because again, I need to work on that with who I am.
Yeah.
In that space. And so when I started chatting with a couple of people, there was a woman who liked we matched. And then she was like, oh, I co-host these sexy dinners for sexy people. Ooh. And I was like, tell me more. So then anywho, so she co-hosts, and a good friend of hers co-hosts just women presenting only, like trans women, non-binary, but mainly, a women, female focus, female presenting.
It's complicated.
So yeah, I'm not.
I feel like I don't know the right thing because it's always changing.
I know.
I want to learn.
Which is wonderful. But it's also like, I'm probably not saying it correctly, but trans women are welcome. And so are non-binary if female presenting.
Right. Very clear.
So anywho, so I was like, well, fuck it. There's nothing more me than to not have sex for a year and then go to an orgy. Like that's so, I cannot think of a more perfect me. Like I'm trying to come to terms with who I am and be more comfortable. And you're like,
all in.
I'm going all in and also void of
intimacy.
That's it.
Yeah, all of that stuff seems like I've always had a healthy relationship with sex. I like sex. Yeah. All of that. I have never gone in any of those directions. I've never had a threesome. Like I think I'm too I don't know. Well, again, the sensitivity, like I think I would be the worst person in that because I would just get the giggles and I'd be like,
that's okay.
Too many parts. There's so many things. Like I would just want to make jokes and I would be giggling,
that's not a problem.
uncomfortable the whole time and be like, don't touch me with that.
Well, that's okay. I mean, here's the thing, like the idea of threesomes, like whatever, it's like this this porn idea,
right?
Whatever, and it's still you, right?
I guess I don't really have a desire.
I was gonna say, if you have no desire, then don't fucking do it.
I mean, you older, you're like, well, I've tried a lot of other stuff. Like, why not?
Or why not?
No, like there's a part of me that's like, oh, interesting. Because I think, like, especially being in Europe, there's a lot more like poly and open and queerness here. Like you see, like there's a different relationship to sex here, which is really cool, right? Because we can be very puritanical in the United States. So the part is like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, it's like I've never been presented with the opportunity, or if I did, I was unaware, which could very much have been and it's never been something I've sought out. But I've also been in serious relationships most of my life. Guys who have not tried to do that. I mean, there was like a brief period right after my husband and I separated that I like was hooking up with a guy who was interested in it, and it was like that. I was just married. I was like, this is a lot.
This is not for me.
So I didn't realize how wholesome I am. I've learned that in this last dating experience.
I don't think, a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm so vanilla, or I'm so boring. That should not be looked down on.
Thank you. Thank you for all us vanilla people out there. Thank you very much.
Here's the thing, like being quote unquote, like vanilla can be a kink.
Right.
Like just be like, if that turns you on, that turns you on. And that's great. You don't have to do these other things.
Right.
I think I not only have wanted to, like, obviously sex was not an intimate thing for me ever. So it was just like, so that I was open to whatever, but I also think I've been searching for something in it. Right. So I've done a lot because I'm like, oh, I'll find it. When in fact, what I need is one-on-one intimacy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But nonetheless, I've tried things. And here's my statement for people who have never done a threesome. It is, it doesn't always have to be this way, but in general, if you like to 69, that's a threesome. Okay. Because you got to be active on all sides.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting.
It does seem like it would be a lot of work. It seems like it'd be a lot of energy, a lot of work, a lot of liquids. And I do get grossed out by certain things. Oh. So I'm a little bit like, ew.
It's just, there can be moments where you just receive or you just give. Right. But in a threesome, it does feel awkward that if you are receiving or you're giving, that the other side of you is not doing something as well, right? So it's like,
I'm already getting stressed out. I'm already getting so stressed out by this.
So there's only so it's like, I don't think I have the energy. I say this, I don't have the energy. I just went to a sex party, but it's different. It's different. This is the justification in my brain. It's different when you have more than 3 because you can couple off.
Right.
So it's not, when you have 3, it's like everyone's participating in multiple ways. When you have 4 or more, then it's like, oh, someone can rest while the other 2 go, or 2 and 2, or like whatever.
You can have a rest period, a timeout.
You can have a rest period.
Towel.
Or you can also be very active in those as well, but you have more opportunity.
Right. Someone can tag team. It's like it's like there's a bench. You can be benched if you need to. If you need to get some Gatorade, you need to stretch your calves out.
Absolutely. Or you can be like, hey, why don't the 2 of us do some activity and let those people do something else?
I just feel like this conversation has me overwhelmed. Like,
oh my God, I love it.
I can't even, like, I picture this sort of thing. It's like, I don't even like to go into large grocery stores because it's like too many people, like big concerts, like being naked or halfway naked or like all of that feels like, I absolutely no judgment, just really, really overwhelming and stressful to me.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. So I could talk about sex and sex parties till the day is done. But one thing that I'm also battling with right now is like untangling the worth and size, right?
Yes.
And my being overweight in my body. And it's so interesting because I feel like I have this 2 truths that seem so contradictory. Mm-hmm. I don't love my body. I'm overweight. Mm-hmm. It's annoying to me. I don't feel the super sexual or attractive, but at the same time, I'm like, but this is my body.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to deny that this is what it is, because nothing looks worse than someone trying to hide their body.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, this is it. Either you like it or you don't. It doesn't mean I also love it, but you know what I mean? So it's like, and again, maybe there's a bit of disassociating when I'm in those types of situations, but I'm kind of like, and there's also a lot of age with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's like, fuck it, I'm 46. Like, these are my tits. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, what am I doing? I can't change anything. I'm not going to pay to change it right now.
Right.
Who knows? But,
well, this is the thing we've been untangling for years now.
Yeah.
And this is why, I put together the programs I put together, because
absolutely,
it's not just, go on a diet. And even if you were to lose a bunch of weight, that's not going to fix the feelings you have around it, right? Where and like you see this, right? So much of it isn't
absolutely
like, yes, being healthy, like weight has something to do with it, all of those things. But like, to some degree, like we know why some of that weight got put on, and it was so related to emotional things.
Yes, I'm just fully creating a barrier.
Right.
Yeah.
So like it's in going into and understanding, processing that grief and trauma, right? Processing, loving those parts of yourself that you're trying. Right. Like what's easier to do that between literally creating a physical barrier on your body from it. Yeah. And I mean, it's been really beautiful to watch you really take charge of this. And it's so funny too, because like, a lot of people come to me feeling like, ooh, I want to lose weight. And that's what this is. And like people do. Sure. If they actually want to or need to, like they do. Right. But so many, I mean, girl, what were you saying to me yesterday? You're melting marshmallows and granola? Like literally.
Literally.
And great. I hope it was delicious.
It was okay. I got greedy. I tried to do it a second time, and the marshmallows exploded in the microwave. I was like, "This is what you get. Like, don't do that."
This is a sign where it's like you're not even at the place where like that stuff matters, because like at the core, like you're not even motivated to do that or move very much, because you have to go in deeper and look at like these core wounds and why, right? Why am I continuing to do this? Why am I? And this is why diet culture does not work. This is why people like me exist, because it's like, oh yeah, food is just a symptom. Weight is just a symptom. And like what needs to be untangled, and this takes years often, depending on how much time and capacity and money and willingness to process the pain and look inside. But so much of this work is you really facing yourself and your pain.
Here's the thing. And the one positive of a sex party is that, and I said to trauma healer the other day in my session, I was like, no one ever said go to a sex party to make yourself feel better about your body. But
did he laugh?
Also just help, because it's like, listen, girl, I mean, granted, there may be some that are like all fit people, but rarely. There's always shapes and sizes and whatever. And like, and if you get nervous about a body zit or like an imperfection somewhere, it's like when you got a bunch of naked or semi-naked people, it's like, oh, there's a weird red spot on the butt, or like cellulite and whatever. It's like, no one fucking cares. No. So there is a comfort in that, to be like, it's a reminder that it's like, no, we're all beautiful, and we all deserve pleasure, and we all deserve, it's like, there is something very beautiful about that. Now, granted, did I have the best time at the sex party? Not necessarily. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. But nonetheless, there was like a body. The what?
Oh, you went out there.
But I went.
Yeah.
And I think I think it was really good for me just to be like, hey, I'm naked with a lot of other naked people, and it's not a weird thing. Like, my body is just as beautiful as everyone else's here,
Yes.
And like, I can make other people happy. I can receive pleasure, even though, I didn't receive that much pleasure that night, which was unfortunate. But,
that is very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. But still, that was a positive. That was a positive takeaway. And going back to what you've said many times to me before and talked about on the podcast with Despina, you have to be uncomfortable to change, right?
Yes.
Or maybe Lisa, but nonetheless, yeah, it's so until you're ready, which I've been complaining about, but just haven't been able to either identify that I'm ready. Like, again, now my new challenge is just to meet someone at an intimate level.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
And with that, I think the body stuff will happen.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not the focus. It can't be.
Yeah. And this just makes me want to say this out loud again.
I want you to say this out loud.
Time, is that really we heal our relationships with our bodies by inhabiting them, right?
Yeah.
So much, and it's really horrible for women. It's very cultural, like from a young age, and like you got it, aggressively because your mom was in the business she was in, and you got into that business. We forever taught to self-objectify, right?
Yeah.
And like to this day, it's I see it with these like incredible women who are so smart and so successful and so powerful and so amazing in all these ways, are still going outside of the body. How's my butt look in these pants? What are people going to think of me in this bathing suit?
Yep.
What are people going to think of me in these 5? I'm going to look at my thighs and judge my thighs from here. I'm going to look at my stomach in the mirror. I'm going to suck it in. And like, we've all done it. But the thing is like, your body is just a vehicle to have an amazing time. So like, if you want to start to like it, we just got to get you feeling good in it and using it. And that's what you just started doing, which is amazing.
Yes.
You need to inhabit your body. Yes. So many people, and this is why I do the work I do, and I was doing it for so long as well, inhabit their bodies from the neck up. It's like, I am a brain, and this body is this shitty thing that I have to be in that feels like a trap, that feels awful. And I get it, because if you're in physical or emotional pain, you do not want to be inside of it, right?
No.
You want to be outside of it. You want to be, you want to disassociate.
Exactly.
You want to hide. Right?
Right.
And the thing is like what I do with these programs with people, sometimes it takes a long time, and that's okay. It's like, how do we coax you back into this experience? And how do we get you to understand and make choices that make you feel both physically and emotionally better in this meat suit? So you can just have the best time. The point is not to have the best abs. Like, great. If you have them, great. If that's what you really want, that's great. But like, we're in this thing to go into the world and fall in love and have sex and eat ice cream and go to Italy and get in a hot air balloon and like go underwater basket weave, right? Like truly like that. And that's that's where happiness comes from, right? And that's where it's like, you got to learn to be present. You got to learn to listen. You got to get inside. And I could like scream. I am screaming this. I get very impassioned about this because it has really nothing to do with what it looks like. It has everything to do with how you feel and your experience. And we've all seen this. Any shape, any size, any race, any gender, you come in and you are connected to yourself and you are happy and you are excited. You are effervescent, right? You are attractive. You are a fucking magnet. That's what beauty is. That's where attraction comes from.
That's where it is.
And it literally, like, we do not need to change the outside. We just have to change our experience of it from the inside. And we got to be in there, because when is the last time you were having the best time? And you're like, hey guys, let's stop this dance party so we can all look at my cellulite and make me feel bad. You forget. Right? When you are present and connected in that experience and flowing in life, it doesn't matter what your nose looks like. It doesn't matter how flat your tummy is. It's just you enjoying life and being in it and using the body, what it's here for, to get you through life.
The only time I've stopped in those moments of like the happiness and whatever related to dancing around, let's say, is because I'm so out of breath and out of shape because I have treated my body poorly. But that has nothing to do with, again, because it's like I'm putting on the weight, therefore making myself unhealthy, therefore preventing myself from having pure happy times, because I'm preoccupied with body and with my ability to sustain the energy.
Right.
And be healthy.
And this is where like the tiny changes and the little tools come in, right? Because when you start feeling really good and happy and like enjoying your experience, or finding a dance class that you like, or, a book that you love, or a walk that you like to go on, or a new friend or a new boyfriend, whatever it is, and you start having experiences where you're present, you're having a good time, you want to do nice things to your body.
Yeah.
You know, you want to continue to make good choices.
Yeah.
So it's just finding, and that's where it's, again, I always talk about this, like, how do I even talk about what I do anymore? Because in the beginning it was holistic health, and, you know, like, I really was looking into diet and sleep and all those things, which is very important. But the longer I'm in this, the more it's like, it's contentment, happiness, purpose, relationships, you know, it's making these little changes where every yes in your life is to something that really feeds you and feeds your soul, right?
Yeah.
And the more we make these micro changes in the direction of things that are aligned for us and right for us, which, guess what? This is why you got to learn how to listen and trust, because that's going to change throughout your life, right?
Change.
Where like my ex-husband was like the biggest hell yes. When I met him at 26, I was like, there is no other more brilliant person in my life. And like the guy I most recently dated, I felt the same way about it. They couldn't be more different.
So different.
And he was like 11 when I was in college. And I was like, and if you had told me I would have been in this situation like a year or two ago, I'd have been like, hell no.
What the hell is your problem?
What the hell are you talking about? That sounds crazy. But like in this moment, like, he's one of my favorite people because of how he shows up and our interest in all of these things. But it's like, if you can continue to grow and evolve and just say yes to the things that feel right for you, health is so much easier.
It's
you're not trying to dissociate. You're not trying to just, you know, drink too much or eat too much or get away from yourself. You're in your experience, and you make better choices.
You do. I was just saying, again, after my trauma therapy session the other day, I was like, I miss, like, in my core, I miss dancing. I miss playing tennis. I miss like hiking. I miss all of these activities that are physical. I'm not doing anything physical. Yeah. And it's like, boy, it hurt. Like, I'm almost pointing to my eyes.
That means she's crying, folks. That means she's crying. Every time she cries, she points to her eyes.
I point to my eyes. It just makes everybody more comfortable to see that I'm pointing to my eyes. I
just say it. I go, oh, I'm going to cry. Oh, I'm going to cry.
I know. Well, the funny thing is that I point
people pleasers
so that people know, but then I also say, look, I'm pointing to my eyes. So I might as well just say
it's so much cuter though and more charming. It is so much more charming. But I mean, is this the comedian people pleaser or what? It's like, oh, I'm gonna cry. Just gonna make everyone uncomfortable. I'm gonna warn you.
Well, that's why I started doing that. I'm like, hello. I'm aware, you're aware, all of us are aware.
Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Don't feel weird. I know I'm doing this in public. And like going back to that, right? Because you've been struggling with mental health for the past couple of years. And we know, like at this point, I now exercise to feel less sad and less angry and less anxious. Like it's a mental health tool for me more than anything else. And I remember I had the biggest lesson, I'm sure I've said this before, because man, I repeat myself. But I used to, when I was in the throes, like, because I was bulimic, and then I was like exercise bulimia, and then I was orthorexia. Like, let me have all of the eating disorders,
all of the things.
And my ex-husband was like a semi-pro athlete, so like he was really into working out. So then I got like really into working out, and exercise became this really intense thing that I felt like I had to do to look better. And then I got really sick, and then I had like fatigue issues, and I was not allowed to exercise for an entire year.
Yeah.
And I missed it. And I realized, oh no, when I got back into it, I'm like, oh, exercise is something that I like to do to feel better. Yeah. Not have to do to look better, but like love to do to feel better. And like, that's the correlation that I think a lot of people, and that's why I'm like, find something you like to do. Like move your body in a way that brings you joy. If you find that you do that on a regular basis, not only are you happier, but it's again, the ripple effect of, ooh, I'm making a better choice because I did this and I feel joyful and I don't feel like I need to mainline ice cream or granola marshmallow mush.
Thank you so much. With butter.
I mean, you need the salt in there, obviously.
I did a little pinch of salt. Don't you worry about it.
Oh, thank God. That belongs to my own heart. Add a little bit of salt to that.
Just a little.
Yeah. I think that, well, this is the other, I was so funny. I was like, I feel like both of us had like interesting announcements that we didn't talk about at all, but this is where maybe a move might help things.
A move might help, indeed. So I have made the decision, which again, talk about if you had said a year ago. I mean, if you had said 2 months ago, I would have punched you in your throat because I have been so anti-LA for
Until 5 seconds ago.
Until 5 seconds ago. And I think there's a lot of factors, but I need to move there.
Yes.
Now, is it going to happen? Listen, if I had all the money, I would figure it out in the next month or so, but I don't have all the money. So I'm trying to get my shit together so that it can happen in the fall and the winter, whatever. So it's a huge thing. And part of that, it's huge. I mean, there's obviously career stuff that obviously, I mean, granted, SAG's about to go on strike as well as WTA, but I mean, obviously that it's a better area for career, which I've never let that be why I moved there. Right. Because that will disappoint. And I've created so many relationships here, but the biggest thing is community. And
that's why I moved here.
Right.
I promise of that. Yeah.
And also more of a, one of the biggest reasons is because I'm really solidifying and being confident in who I am and really speaking who I am versus like who I have thought I was, right? That's the two options. But so much of New York is my mom, which I love, and she's been here and she's with me every second of the day. And I feel her so much here, but I feel like for my own growth, I need to maybe step away from New York for a little bit. And try on like being me in a different place and pursuing relationships and pursuing career and pursuing a different lifestyle. And then who knows, I may be back to New York, but I know that I need to go now. I need to leave New York for a little bit, and everything's cyclical because right now New York is kind of crap. She said it. She said it. It's just like, it's in a downswing. It just took a hit.
I couldn't believe how much I liked living in London more than New York. I was shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah. I just love New York, but it just...
Yeah, same.
It just may be time.
I just love this because this is so indicative of your growth and the growth we've done together. And they always talk about like when you're really starting to change, like you rearrange your furniture, you get a crazy haircut, you move something, like you are really starting this new era, this new chapter, this new version of you. You were healing stuff that had needed to be healed for such a long time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's hard to do that in an apartment that you've lived in for like 11 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, I guess that's what I'm doing in Portugal, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It was like, I really, after leaving my marriage, was like, okay, LA, maybe we'll try that on. Like, I've been wandering around and like settling here. And you know, what's going to be interesting is like, I've been going through this, like, I think you probably will have a lot of shifts and clarity and like all the stuff that's been happening to me here is going to happen there. And it is weird because I am having a crazy identity crisis. I mean, not in terms of this work. Like I know, and like I had a really big shift.
No, you know. Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be the longest episode ever. Whatever, it's fine. We're so interesting.
Listen in parts, or listen. Cancel all your plans and keep listening. Okay,
cancel, for the week. You care, you deeply care about us. But I really I had the most amazing breakthrough last week, and it really was this beautiful moment for me because I have been feeling so frustrated with how I've been approaching my business because it's shifted for the first time. And so we both work with this. I turned Claire onto him as well, this trauma healer, Ching Lu, who is amazing, who is in Maine. He does remote work. He is fabulous.
He's the one that I said, no one ever said go to a sex party to feel better about
yourself. So I figured we just name him so we could just kind of start.
I know.
He could be a character on the podcast.
He's a character. He's helping us. Ching is the best.
Ching has changed my life. He is amazing. Yes. And I had a session with him and I was I've been feeling so many different things and so frustrated. And through kind of really looking inward and working with him, I realized that I had been trying to approach my career in the same way I have since my early 20s. And I am in a very different stage of life. And through a session and just like looking internally, I realized I'm so frustrated with myself because I am trying to prioritize my career in a way that I used to when it is not my priority anymore. Do I love what I'm doing? Yes. Am I going to stop? No. Am I going to stop? Absolutely not. Do I want to keep going with all of this? And am I as invested? Yes. But I looked back and I realized I got into acting because I needed to heal, right? I needed to be seen. My ego needed it. I needed to be around other people who are big feelers. I had all these dreams. But like my 14 years of acting was this huge vehicle for personal transformation. And I kind of think we all do this in different areas, but like acting requires a lot more self-development than a lot of things because you're really dealing with your emotional life. And then it was so interesting because this career started 8 years ago on the side of that. And it grew, and it was initially a hobby and then an interest, and it would always flow. I always had clients. I never put anything weird onto it because all of my weirdness went into my acting, right? It was this offering and just this thing that I was good at. And then during the pandemic, when I really, production stopped, and I was able to look at my life and realize it was not adding as much value as it was, and I didn't like it anymore, which again, during when I first started working with Ching, I had to untangle my ego and my identity from it, right? Because I was taking a lot of, there's the worry of failure. And then I was just taking a lot of my identity was wrapped up in this thing, and I'd worked so hard to get where it was. But then some of my weirdness that wasn't healed got rolled into this career. And I just started pursuing this career in the same way. And like, as hard as I could to really, again, for my ego to get validation. But the weird thing was I got it, right? I got recognized. I got validation. And not only did I make money and people saw it and people are healing and people continue to heal, but I was helping. So it was like this bigger ego boost. And like, there's like, a couple of years ago, it's like, I'm going to be the biggest, best thing ever. And it was so funny because in untangling a lot of things and landing here, I realized I've been burnt out since my early 20s.
Yeah.
I do not need that validation anymore.
No.
I now have a healthy relationship with work for the first time in my life. Yeah. And I realized that, and thanks to this relationship, we want to bring it full circle.
Yes.
Thanks to this relationship, I realized I've never had a healthy relationship in my life because I always prioritized myself, my work, my job, whatever that was, my healing over the person because I maybe needed to be whole. Yeah. And now is the first time ever that I feel like I have space to really give to a relationship in a healthy way. And hopefully that will lead to having a child. And I have space to have a kid. Yeah. And it was this beautiful unburdening where all of a sudden I felt so much more creative with my job. And I was like, fuck, I am a whole person. It's maybe taken 40 years, but like, I now have a healthy relationship with my job. I don't need more from it than just being of service and, an exchange of energy with some money so I can live my life. I don't need to be the biggest, best, whatever. I let go of all that stuff. Like, I just want to help. I want to help people like you who literally it's so funny that you are the one doing this with me as you were the first person that signed up for my group program. But man, do I feel blessed to be on this journey with you and watch you evolve and heal and watch you really blossom and, get more jobs, feel better in your body, really embrace your queerness, now inhabit, and challenge yourself with intimacy. There's no greater gift. And it was just this incredible moment of and then it was really easy to start to see that this relationship also was maybe not the perfect fit for me because this person is just not there. Right. Mm-hmm. And desperately wanted to be there for me because we have such a nice connection and a nice friendship. But it's I get it. And once you see that, it's the truth. Once you see the truth and are willing to feel the feelings and feel the disappointment and embrace it, it's easy to let things go. But so many of us don't want to see that truth. And I know it because I felt glimpses of it in my marriage for such a long time, but it was someone I loved so deeply. He was such a good man. He's still such a good man. He's not dead. I got to stop doing that.
Right.
And I wanted it past tense, in my brain. I wanted it to be right. And I think so many of us want the thing that was once right for us to continue to be the thing.
Of course.
And we got to be able to let go and process that grief and let go of those friendships or that job and allow us, because what's on the other side of that truth and that pain is that life that is more beautiful. Always. Yeah. I promise you guys, I've been crying and jumping into things and jumping off cliffs and ripping off the Band-Aids. And then the other side of it is so much more alignment and beauty and newness and purpose.
Yeah. Well, and talking about, friendships And things like some of my biggest growth has really started happening since I relieved myself of, a very strong relationship. My best friend.
I lost one of my best friends this year too. We kind of went our separate ways in a different way. And like, man, I was in a definitely more toxic situationship last fall, and I was so confused how I got there. But then in letting that go, I saw how much I was people pleasing and maybe codependent and all of these, I thought were healthy relationships, that when I started showing up and needing more, they didn't love it.
Yes.
And certain things didn't certain people surprised me and they hung in and raised up to the occasion, and other people couldn't. And it was like, no harm, no foul. We're in these different places.
Exactly. It's like, in order for me to really follow and I hate the statement, but I'm about to say it, so please don't judge me, my truth. My truth. So stupid. But it's like, I need to speak up for myself, and I need to follow what is going to be best for me versus like, there's that fine line of like helping and showing up for other people, but also showing up for yourself. Like, it's a weird balance sometimes. And so it's taken a few years, but I finally realized that, like, oh no, the balance is, I need to step away from this friendship so that I can really heal and be true to myself.
Yes. Yes. And the thing is, it's like, there's so much love for that person still, right?
Absolutely.
And like, for my friend, and like, man, I couldn't love my ex-husband more, right? Like that was such a beautiful relationship that I needed to grow, to get, and like, none of that is failure.
It's not.
None of that is failure. None of that. It's growth and evolution. And if we can embrace, the beginnings and endings, knowing that like the newness is going to bring so much into our life and expand us, we suffer less. It's the clinging and the holding on and the ideas, right? And I tell people, like, the tighter you hold on to an idea of who you are or what you want or what your life is supposed to look like, and you grab onto it as hard as you can, you suffer more. Open palm. Let things in and out. Like, surprise yourself, because at the core, like, I really don't think we all know exactly what we need all the time. I just don't. No. I don't think we do.
No, because we have so much information coming at us all the time, telling us what we should want and do and need, and what we're, deprived of, or what we need, whatever. So it's like, what's true? And bringing this full circle back to the beginning, what's your eloquent statement? You grow with relationships.
Relationships are our biggest teachers.
Thank you so much for saying it again. And like you said, you repeat yourself, but I can't remember it. So you need to say it.
So it's good. It's good. I repeat myself all the time.
It's good. But like, that is just specifically talking about my former best friend. I am who I am today because of that friendship and because of that relationship. So I am so thankful, but it's not, it got to the point where I grew to a certain point, but then it started hindering. And so it's like, okay, at that point now, let's maybe step away. Yeah. But it's like, again, there's so much that I learned during that time and in that relationship, and thanks to her, but it just, and so it's, I avoid relationships, but I do have intense relationships with my friendships, Well,
I mean, there's no bad or good. Like, that's not you avoiding relationships, right?
No, it's not.
It's
like, me avoiding male intimacy is what it was.
Which turns out maybe you just want to do forever, and that's cool too.
Exactly. So I just have I've had so many like singular best friends in my life where it's like we almost are in relationships.
I've also had that. Right? Yeah. Yeah. And I remember one of my soulmates, right? And it's sort of, we kind of took a step apart in our like really rekindling our relationship, which has been really delightful. But we were getting married around the same time. And I remember we met our husbands around the same time. And it was almost like we had to break up.
Yep.
Like, my husband's like, you can't just when we moved in together, he was like, you can't just spend the night at our house all the time. I'm like, I can't? Like, I can't just like come home. I have to like, I can't just like go to Vanessa's whenever I want. Like, what?
Right.
But it was like we almost had to break up, and it was hard. And I remember being jealous of other friendships she was like, if things got too close to her. Like, I mean, relationships are complicated and messy and beautiful and necessary and mirrors. And that's why they're my favorite things. I love people. I love love. I love intimacy. I love what I do because I get to love on people and become, support systems for them. And I think it's because of what I'm best at, right? It's like, I can be that mirror. I can be that, I can push you, misreflect. Yeah, it is truly.
That is it.
It is truly it. I mean, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I just have one shout out, and then I'm sure we could actually finish.
I think, I think we're at a good point.
I'm sure if anyone's still with us, bless you. I have to give a shout out talking about friendships. One of my closest friends in college, she and I have, obviously that's a long time ago, girl. But I don't have a ton of friends left over from college, and I went to a couple different colleges as well. But thanks to her being someone that like wouldn't take my lack of communication as a step away. Like, we've maintained our friendship. Obviously, we've always been close, but like we would talk a few times a year, right? Like, that's just unfortunate. And she's going through such a life transition now, as am I. And we're now like talking every day. We're now like, it's so fun. I love Maria so much. It's just like, we're both kind of, it's like we've had each other's back for so long. And now it's like, oh, thank God we have each other right now. And we're both kind of really needing that support. It's so beautiful. And I just, I'm pointing to my eyes. I'm pointing to my eyes. It's just so sweet. And when you said you were like rekindling that friendship, that just made me think about that. And I just wanted to,
Maria,
like, just say it. Maria.
No, that's happened to me a couple times, and it's so beautiful. I think their relationships are in seasons, right?
Right.
And like, man, like one of the most beautiful, like, I moved to England because I basically like got back together with this guy I dated. He was the last guy I dated before I met my husband. And I had met him because we were working in the same bar in New York. And I was so not into it. We'd become friends first. Like, I had just gotten my heart broken in the first real severe heartbreak I'd ever had. And that was actually the only guy that was like, I don't talk to my exes at all.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a really, really hard break for me. And like, it was a really intense relationship. It was the first guy I thought I was going to marry. And so I was like broken, like Sex and the City movie, like eating cookies in bed for 2 months broken. And God, this is shout out to Vanessa again. Loved her. Like, I remember one day came over and was like, when's the last time you got out of bed? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, when's the last time you showered? I was like, I don't know. She's like, get in the fucking shower and take you out to dinner. Like, we need those friends, right?
Yeah.
So this guy came into my life after that, like months after that. And we ended up being friends and dating. And he put the pieces back together after that. And then, man, if he didn't show up after my divorce and do the same thing.
Wow. And
it was like one of those things where it was like, there are just these angels that come into your life and like do the things. And like, even this current like relationship that is just ending or getting weird or whatever, like literally showed up second day I got here and has helped me figure out logistically how to live here. Right.
Yeah.
And shown me around and helped me get
and opened up your view on what you want as well.
Right. And it's like, and challenged my perspective on, like, allowed me to grow and, learn things and evolve the way I look at the world. And like, it's beautiful, right? And it's hard not to cling to that stuff, right? Or it's hard not to want to let go of it when it's time to let go. It's painful. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so painful. I was like heartbroken earlier this week. But you got to follow that truth.
Be thankful. And we have to be thankful for the time that we have with whoever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And know that, like, I always say this to my clients, and I live by this, if not this, then something better. And it's only leaving because there is something better and more aligned for you to come into your life. And I kept thinking that when I was leaving London last year, because I really, really loved living there. And I was like, this is really this is weird. Where am I going? And I kept being like, wow, this is really cool. The next thing I'm doing is going to be even cooler. I can't even believe it.
Good. I love that. That's a wonderful perspective. I like that a lot.
And that's, maybe LA, right? Or the next chapter in LA is going to be like that.
I think so.
I think that's a good stopping point, guys.
Girl, listen, As a producer, I have not kept us on track, but as a friend, I've had a joyous time.
I mean, I think it's fine. I think we're fascinating.
Well, listen, that's what these are. This is just like, let's gab and see what happens. You know what I mean?
It's also like, where are you at and what are you going through? Because I don't know, there's nothing more interesting to me than the human experience and people being vulnerable and sharing what they're going through. And I like to do that. And I know you're good at it because it helps us feel less alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
You know?
Absolutely.
And like, if we can share something here, and I'm like a health expert in quotes, right?
Right.
Like if I can be an example.
You are a health expert, but yes, go ahead.
No, but if I can show up and be a real full human at the same time and be like, hey, I'm fully recovered from an autoimmune disease, an eating disorder, anxiety, depression, self-loathing, a divorce. You can do it too. We're no different. Right. We are people who have gone after our dream. Like we're not different than you. You can do it too. I always want to show behind the curtain.
Yeah. And again, going back from the very beginning, I said, this is why I like you.
Right.
You've got wonderful
pooping blood.
I love it. Pooping blood. And like, maybe not a threesome's not for you. You know what I mean? It's like these are the things that like make me love you even more.
Oh, well, the feeling's mutual, my dear. And it's just been incredible to continue to watch your journey unfold. So thank you for, giving us all that pleasure.
Of course. And then as a producer, this is where I step in. Remember to like and subscribe and share with friends and rate this beautiful podcast 5 stars.
Only
5. Even if you
like my mom.
Right. Full disclosure, I am her mom. Yes, throw in some emojis in the thing.
With love an emoji.
With love an emoji. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
But we love a little
thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Cheers. Okay.
Exactly.
We'll never end. Okay. I love you all. I do. I appreciate you for being here. I want to be supporting you guys with conversations that are meaningful. So also like if there are types of people you want to hear from or conversations that you want to be had that you are interested in hearing, let us know. Let us know. This is for you.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.